Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving into something that is completely foundational, but honestly, it can be surprisingly tricky to teach. We're talking about prepositions of place. Whether you're guiding kindergartners or helping ESL students master English, teaching these spatial concepts really needs a specific approach. It's literally all about moving bodies before we ever touch a piece of paper. Okay, let's dive right into this. Just picture this scenario for a second. Put your backpack under your chair. No, not on it. Under it, and please take it off your head. If you've spent any time working with kids, you absolutely know this struggle, right? Kids hear these position words all day long, but getting them to truly understand and use them correctly, that takes some very intentional teaching.
Part 1, the power of where.
So before we jump straight into the strategies, we have to ask, why are these tiny words so absolutely crucial? Well, they're the foundation for cognitive development, spatial reasoning, and just clear communication in everyday life. But here's the trick. When we first introduce these concepts, we need to completely ditch the intimidating grammar jargon. Forget the word preposition for a minute. If we just call them position words, it instantly answers the main question beginners have: where? A position word literally just tells us where something is in relation to something else. I mean, take the word in out of the cat is in the box, and the whole sentence just falls apart, right? Now, what's really interesting about this is a crucial distinction highlighted by PlanetSpark. Prepositions of place describe a static position, like a ball just sitting there in a box. But prepositions of direction describe movement, like a ball actively rolling into a box. As educators, if we keep our focus strictly on those static positions first, we can save beginners a massive amount of confusion. Section 2, Teach the Core 4. You want to start this journey chronologically, focusing on the absolute simplest concepts first. We call these the core 4, in, on, under, and over. These 4 are essentially the backbone of early instruction because they're the most common and, frankly, the easiest to show physically. And you definitely want to practice these with simple physical repetition. There's this great activity called box and bear. A student holds a little box and a toy bear, and they physically move the bear in, on, under, or over the box as you call out the words. It's fast, it gets them moving, and it works like a charm. And that beautifully sets up the next step. Because once that physical concept is completely grasped, then we translate it to paper. Worksheets are perfect here because they visually connect the physical position they just acted out, like a cat sitting under a table, to the written word itself. It gives the learner a chance to visually process that exact relationship on the page. Part 3, adding tricky relative positions. Okay, so once those core 4 are completely automatic, it's time to level up. We introduce words that take a bit more complex spatial reasoning. I'm talking about words like beside, behind, and between. These are definitely trickier because they require understanding a relative position to another object, not just a basic surface or a container like the core 4 do.
So the crucial point here is understanding exactly why some of these are so much harder for learners. Beside and behind only need one reference point. But between? Between requires 2 reference points. That makes it the absolute hardest preposition for kindergartners and early ESL learners to wrap their heads around. Because of that, it needs the most physical practice time. They literally need to physically place a pencil between a book and an eraser dozens of times before it truly clicks.
Section 4, Body first, paper second. This brings us to the core motif of this entire explainer. If you want beginners to truly understand grammar, you have to root it in physical movement. There's this fantastic quote from the sources: if you can move it, you can learn it. I really want you to remember that principle. When it comes to prepositions, movement-based instruction isn't just a fun little bonus. It is absolutely essential. You have got to get kids moving their bodies before you ever hand them a pencil. So what does this actually look like in action? Think about setting up a preposition obstacle course where kids are literally climbing over benches and crawling under tables. You can play follow the word or try a preposition freeze dance where they have to place their hand on or under something the second the music stops. Or even whole body sorting where you have them step into a hula hoop that's labeled in. When a child physically places their own body in these positions, that vocabulary locks into their brain way deeper than any worksheet ever could. Section 5, Games and Visual Play. Once their bodies understand it, their minds are fully ready to play. Let's look at how this physical understanding translates to visual exercises. Imagine looking at a completely messy bedroom scene and asking, "Where is the ball?" or "Where is the doll?"
Playfully inviting a student to spot specific items in a chaotic image simulates those interactive quizzes used a lot in ESL and early education. It forces their brain to scan the space, locate the object, and then describe it using those target position words we've been practicing. There's also this brilliant strategy for ESL learners from ESL Active called picture dictation. Here's how it works. You project an image on the board, but only one student is allowed to look at it. They have to describe the picture to their partner, and that partner has to draw exactly what's being described. Then, the big reveal. They compare the drawings. Oh, and here is a hilarious but super effective tip. Make the describing student sit on their hands. It completely stops them from pointing and forces them to rely 100% on their new preposition vocabulary. And of course, we absolutely cannot forget the power of books. Doing read-alouds makes prepositions feel so natural. Take a book like Rosie's Walk by Pat Hutchins. It is just packed with prepositions. You can actually turn it into a highly active listening game by having students give a massive thumbs up every single time they hear a position word, which in that book is roughly every 3 seconds. Books like Where's Spot turn the reading into a fun guessing game, and stories like Over and Under the Snow help build that positional language in a really calming, natural context.
Part 6. Signs of True Mastery. All right, so we've done the physical movement, the worksheets, the games, and the books. But how do we actually assess if they've got it? True mastery looks like confident, flexible use, right? Not just lucky guessing. You're looking for a few key indicators. Are they following positional directions without hesitation? Are they naturally using position words in spontaneous speech? Like, are they saying, hey, my eraser fell under my desk instead of just pointing at the floor? Are they picking out prepositions naturally during story time? And finally, are they using them correctly in written sentences? When you start seeing all those behaviors, that's when you know the concepts have truly deeply stuck. So that brings us to our final thought for the day. Are you ready to get them out of their seats and learning with their bodies first? I want to challenge you today. For your next lesson, completely ditch the paper. Start teaching these concepts through physical play. Let your students really experience the space around them and just watch how those tiny, powerful words come to life. And really, it begs the question, what other boring grammar rules could be unlocked just by letting kids play? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy teaching.